the whole term of personal growth and development is starting to get tossed around so loosely that the idea and speaking about personal growth sounds cool. So every motherfucker is now fucking just talking about it and tossing it around. Growth this, growth that, development. But what are you really doing to actually work on yourself? What are you reading to actually work on yourself? What are you doing for your actual self-improvement?
Welcome to the One Hustle Show, where we're here to inspire,
motivate,
and educate you about other people's hustle in hopes that you can find
your why.
Welcome to the One Hustle Show. I am very excited for today's podcast. I have a legend in my eyes, a very good friend and someone I learned a lot from. He is a peak performance coach and a lot more than that. So I am very excited to introduce him. I got my co-host, New Home Yogi, and let's get it rolling.
Did you say New Homie Yogi?
Oh yeah, I don't even call her by her
awesome.
name. Yeah.
I have branded myself because of this master in marketing that people actually come up to the store and say, New Home Yogi? And I'm like, yeah, that's what they call me.
When you brand yourself to a point, your identity is that person you created. And that's what
it's definitely worked. I caught onto it when I first met you guys, and that was it. I was like, this is actually a very fascinating title to have, but I was like, it actually makes sense and it works, because he had told me originally about you doing yoga, but then just in general, the whole yogi and home and being in real estate, like it all just made sense, and it kind of gives this feeling of comfort for the customer or the client, where it's like the intimidation factor is removed right out the gate because it just sounds friendly. Oh. So kudos.
I love it.
I think he came up with it and it stuck.
Well, I don't want to give him kudos.
No.
I'm just kidding.
No, but I love it. And when I started doing loans, I was like,
should I rebrand myself?
Should I rebrand myself? But I decided to just keep it, because even though I do loans, I still do houses. And
sure.
That's how people know me, and I don't want to change it. So
right on.
So we started this show with the name One Hustle, because I always taught Daniel all it takes is one client, one impact, one anything. So that's why we have the One Hustle and Hustle One plates.
Sure.
Because it just reminds us it's, there's a hustle, whatever you choose it to be. It could be like, even yoga's my hustle sometimes, but real estate has always been mine. I mean, I was raised in it. He's third generation. So we just run with that, and that's like
sure.
our motto.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, that's the whole concept of the power of one. One family, one phone call, one client, one at a time. And that's how you build your success, because if you're trying to especially when you're getting your feet wet and you're trying to target hundreds or the masses, you get so scatterbrained that you don't even really know where to start. And then you start to kind of chase numbers as opposed to being focused on one client at a time. And you kind of just throw up all over everybody. And you don't really fall forward. You kind of fall backwards, because you're chasing a number that doesn't even make sense when you're just getting started. And if you always run with the concept of power of one every day, no matter how successful you are, I mean, it's a matter of time where you meet that one person that changes your game and your life forever. There'll be that one day where you guys pick up the $100 million client, and it changes everything. Your business, your building, you guys opening up your own building for real estate, like that, all of that can change just from one person. So you guys are doing it all right.
So you want to ask him, or you want me to?
No, you can ask him.
Okay.
Thank you for that, though.
Yeah, I
appreciate that. And I think it's powerful. And I learned from one of my mentors to start every day at zero. It was powerful to me. Start every day at zero. You have 0 clients. What does that hustle look like? And then be hungry,
100%.
So I'll let you go into your question.
Well, I just wanted to, preface, we didn't want to make this real estate. We wanted to make it about entrepreneurs.
Sure.
And so.
But this ties into that.
Right.
The power of one, the whole one concept, the one hustle concept, it fits into anything you go into. Any business, whether you're an entrepreneur or an intrapreneur, that concept still follows no matter what industry you're in. And that's the part where people kind of fall short is thinking that they got it made every time they walk into the next day. Like, I got this many clients. This is what's going on for me. And eventually that kind of makes your head way too big. And you forget that you still have so much more learning curves to go through to excel at your craft. And so that you said it, you couldn't have said it any better, but that if you wake up every day starting at ground zero, even though you have money in the pipeline, business and clients in the pipeline, you still have to pretend like you don't have anything in the pipeline, because then when that pipeline explodes, then it's really game on. And then you're sitting at different tables that only the elite can have access to, but it's always feeding that pipeline as if there's nothing in it.
So where I wanted to start with this, because I don't really know you, you've impacted Daniel's life, is what is your one hustle and where did that start? Like, let's go back to like the beginning of Sean.
Okay. If we go backwards, it started from when I was like a child. Like I grew up in the most toxic, dysfunctional family. And there's worse out there for sure. But mine was pretty bad. Like I grew up pretty much from the age of 4 on. My father was extremely abusive, beat the shit out of me every day, whenever he felt like it. Sometimes, I won't say that I deserved it, but sometimes I just wanted to wrestle with dad. And when I would just jump on his back, I'd get thrown on the floor, hit in the face, and then it's leave me alone, don't talk to me. And, so that was my childhood for a long time. And that led to depression. And I had older siblings that were born with a chronic illness. So just seeing them go through what they were going through added another layer of depression. And so when I got to my teens, I started doing drugs. And from that point, it led from one thing to another, from cigarettes to marijuana to snorting Ritalin and Adderall, and then to actual cocaine, and then mushrooms, acid, ecstasy, like the whole 9 yards. And then eventually I'm full-blown hooked, where I'm like literally cocktailing all these drugs on a daily basis. And so that went for my entire teen years. I was never sober. And then I attempted suicide, and I was suicidal. There was 3 different attempts. And that was just before. 2 were when I was getting sober. 1 was after, because of a really bad relationship that really kind of messed with my head, and I was trying to make sure I don't go backwards to the drugs. But yeah, most of my whole, I have no childhood really, is the way I try to tell people. Growing up, abuse, depression, drugs from 4 till 21. So Sean's childhood is pretty much just down the drain, non-existent, no value. And then from there, for me, it was, how do I got to give myself a shot. Like, I don't trust anybody. I don't trust my family. All my friends suck. No one's there for me. Everyone's betrayed me. And I felt like, and without trying to sound too religious or spiritual, on one of my attempts, God spoke to me and was like, you deserve a chance at life. Just don't do it. Give yourself a shot and see where it goes. Screw everybody else and see where Sean can take himself.
Powerful.
And so I kind of had this awakening moment where I was like, you know what? I do deserve a chance, and I can't rely on anybody. And we hear it from successful people all the time. No one's going to come save you. No one's going to hand you that deal. You got to go after it. So for me, it was like, okay, where do I start? Like, how do I get my feet wet? Because I don't trust anybody, and I'm certainly not going to go to therapy or psychology, because I think they're even worse than any friends. Now that's not me trying to diss on anybody, but I don't believe that anyone should be getting treated by someone that has not actually experienced what they're helping somebody in. Right. And so like when therapists try to diagnose or work with addicts that have never been there before, it's very contradicting to their craft, unless they're actually doing like real brain scans and to actually see like, where's the activity, where's the holes, what are the cause of this? And then they lead them down a path of of holistic nutrition and developing new habits. So without going down that line, down that path, I was like, okay, the first thing I need to do is the last 15 years of my life has just been a shit show. Are we allowed to swear on here?
Yeah, you can do whatever you want.
Okay. The last 15 years has been a shit show. So I was like, let me reverse all this. I'm unhealthy. My skin looks like like I'm a ghost. I look like I'm dying. I got black bags under my eyes. I weigh 145 pounds at 6'2". So I'm like a stick, like literally the size of this. And I was like, let me just reverse what's been going on in my life. So I submerged myself into health and nutrition and exercise just for the purpose of getting healthy. That's all that mattered. Dropped out of college. I was going to go to law school. I had already started studying criminal justice. And I wanted to just see if my brain can at least start processing what life can be if I can just start getting healthy. So, after a couple of years, I realized that like I'm always going to be an addict. I still have these weird urges, but I never want to go back to that life. What do I do? So I discovered that if I can just find certain things to be like super passionate about that will help me create healthy obsessions, I can just transfer that addictive personality and the energy into the things that matter for me, and so got into bodybuilding, again, just for me, not necessarily to compete, but because I knew that would be something that I can really go to battle with myself and fight my demons on a regular basis. And if I need to go to the gym 2 or 3 times in a day, I did that in the first 2-3 years. Sometimes I went 3 times a day, and my mom was like, what the hell's the matter with you? I was like, I got problems. I got issues. Like, that's my scapegoat, And then I realized once I really started to get healthy and I started feeling better, I was like, you know what? I want to do the same thing for people. If it really saved my life, not that cliche, it saved my life, but really saved my life, protected me from going back to drugs and protected me from ever wanting to take my life again, I wonder what my story and my message can do for those that might be going through the same thing or just feel like they need to be, they're not going to be in a good place in life unless they feel healthier. So I went into fitness coaching and personal training.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
When was that, and do you ever crave drugs now?
No.
Okay.
That was when I gave myself that chance right before my 21st birthday. Because I knew that's where life was going to begin, at least for me at that point. And, for most kids, it does start at 21 because now you're an adult and you can do everything legally at that point. I went into business for myself and I just started coaching and training people. And then after a couple of years, I wanted to learn just more about life and business. So I left the fitness world and I went into financial advising for 5 years. And I loved everything that I learned, got licensed, did the insurance and the investment side together. And I walked away after 5 years because I started to realize I was working with some people that were very unethical, not necessarily on the business side, but on a moral level with just people in general. Mm-hmm. And they threw around the God card so many times that when they started to do it as much as I heard it, I started to question really their morality. Because generally, most people, unless you're a pastor, you don't need to drop the God card like every other day on every single sentence statement about life and business. So I started to pay attention very closely, and I started to realize everything was about money for these people. And it wasn't about their clients. It wasn't about their team. It wasn't about team building. It was really about how much more money can the team bring to the table. And so I was like, I can't be a part of this. This isn't why I got involved. This isn't why I wanted to be a part of a team. And so I walked away, and there was a lot of other stuff that happened that took place on all that. And I went back into fitness because I was missing it. So I went to the corporate world in the health club business, and me and a team of 4 or 5 people went out and worked directly with a CEO. And we took one of his companies from 4 clubs to 15 clubs and, set certain records across the nation in the gym business, and then from there came to Vegas, started my own business. And that's the short, long story of of my life. The simple version.
Right.
She didn't know all that. I've learned a lot of pieces, but not in that flow. So very interesting.
So early on, who would you say was like your biggest mentor? Like when you got sober?
My past. I relied on every single thing that I went through in life as my guidance and my mentor.
You said it. You said transfer of energy. That's what you said. You use the energy, and I think that's important. That's the one thing I got from that is you use that energy, that negative energy, whatever you want to call it, is fuel to get you where you want to go. And I think so many people going through stuff don't realize that if they pivoted their thinking, that they could, that very thing that, they think is hurting them, they can use to fuel them.
Well, yeah, because everyone says, more so for me, because I dislike when people say your past doesn't define you, but it actually does, whether it's good or bad. Even when people who are still struggling today because they think their past defines where they are today, so they got to have a shitty life, that still defines you. But you can also use that as, what are all the things that I learned from my past, and how do I use that into becoming somebody better and doing the opposite things that I was doing? So for me, when people say don't have any regrets, no, have all your regrets and use those regrets as your guideline, because that's what regrets are. Because you have regrets, you learn to never make those same mistakes again. You have regrets in a relationship, you take what you've learned from them and how to apply them into the next relationship, right? Or regrets from fucking up in business somehow. Well, you learn from that. So why are we running away from our regrets? Why are we running away from our past? Why are we trying to pretend like our past doesn't define us when 100% it does? So my first few years, I used my darkness and my past, my history, my shitty childhood growing up as my mentorship and as my like I said, my guideline on how to make my way through life. Then when I went into financial advising, I did latch on to somebody in that field temporarily. And like I said, as soon as I started to feel some weird fishy stuff about the God card and money and just being so money driven that you just don't care about actual people, I isolated myself and walked away. And then, after that, I started to really raise my standards on levels of impossibility. Whether it was for people that I wanted to bring into my life or even mentorship and coaching that I seeked out. They had to match or have greater levels of standards and values that I wanted to emulate in life. So that's kind of where it all started for me when it came to navigating through life.
I think people often look externally for answers when a lot of the answers can be internal if you learn how to listen.
Every answer is internal. Most of the time when you get a coach, outside of certain things that are beyond your skills, what do they end up doing? They end up reminding you of things that you should know about yourself as is, or that you just maybe overlook.
Because it's so simple.
Maybe bring internal things to the surface, like, hey, this is what you are. This is the skill set you have. This is how you got to go use it.
Do you go off your gut intuition?
99% of the time.
When did you develop? How did that develop? What was it youngest age you remember having that and started recognizing?
I recognized that right away when I was a kid. Even when I was using drugs, the difference was I didn't listen to it before, which is what got me into the mess that it got me into. And as I started to develop my character and who I wanted to become, I started to realize all the things that I went through in life really helped me realize my intuition has almost been spot on every single time. I think I've maybe missed it once or twice, where I thought something and I was incorrect, but I'd say if I was to take 10,000 thoughts and feelings, 9,999 were spot on to this day. And I think a lot of that has to do with because of my childhood, from the abuse, from the depression, the drugs, because drugs make you super paranoid. but it also makes you tap in to really pay attention, like super high awareness, not just self-awareness, but everything around you, your energy, your intentions, people's motives. Are they genuine? Is it because they just want to, gain something? I got so tapped in with that within 5 minutes of meeting somebody, and again, most people will see this and think that I'm being arrogant, but within 5 minutes, I pretty much know what someone stands for, who they are, and what their intentions are.
You can feel it faster than that.
And you do that all from intuition.
Yeah. I think someone said this to me. They said that your 20 years of fucked upness really helped you develop a real sixth sense. And I was like, yeah, that's probably spot on. Because I operate from a level of my spirit. So I really go into, like, if I meet you for the first time and within 10 minutes of you and I having a conversation, I actually just tap inward and go seek my spirit and listen to my spirit on what it's telling me about you and how it feels about you being in my presence. And if it's telling me certain things, then I really start to listen close. As you're talking, I'm present with you, but I'm present with myself, paying attention to what is my spirit trying to tell me about this person. Are they a good person? Are they bad people? Are they kind of just average, neutral? And I learned over the years that I need to listen to that at all times. And
I get a sick feeling when it's bad, but I don't know if I'm as tapped in as you. I don't get they're a mediocre person or, because I think sometimes my brain sees greatness.
I see too much. of the.
I think naturally, just based on how they speak, I'll realize if they're like more mediocre mentality or if they are like about, high performance, or I'll even recognize if this person has exponential potential and they don't even realize it. So they're operating at a low level, but because no one's poured any kind of belief in this person, or this person hasn't been exposed to limitless possibilities, and your former trainer, she's the same thing when she came to me. She had no idea the level of potential that she had. And all I did was tapped into it, grabbed her spirit and pulled it into the surface and made her realize, like, you have no idea what you're not doing. And, and her success speaks for itself.
It's cool seeing how it just came from within, because a lot of people, it comes from extra. Like me, I watched The Secret when I was 8 years old. I learned how to do that shit. That was like learned.
Sure.
Like that wasn't like on accident. Like she
Right.
helped me watch The Secret. I watched The Secret and developed these, like, okay, let's put it on a board, and then you have it, and then you realize, oh shit, I got that. And then it gets faster and faster. And then like the gap in between me getting things becomes sooner. And then I realized my potential to attract things, and then there's other laws around it. But at a bare level, I realized that works and how it works, and I just saw how far I could take it, and I built it, and I've learned and listened and always trust my gut, and I just go with it unapologetically. Like I don't need to know why it doesn't feel good. If it doesn't feel good, I run. Like run far. And I watch who I keep around me, because I am like that, and I can feel people's energies like you can. So having people around me, the energy, it can be toxic.
Yeah, I think, I believe people don't operate at a level of protecting their energy at all times. And I think to me, it's fascinating to see how some people just run around happy-go-lucky, like everything is so perfect, like everybody wants to genuinely be friends. And as much as, here's the thing, look, Andy Frisella talks about this too. We would like everyone to be friendly. We wish everyone had, sincerity. We wish every single person that we came across just genuinely wanted to see you do well, but that's not the case. And I live in a world of like extreme reality, not just real life, but then I let some superficiality and fabrication exist also. I'm like super extreme, and you know that obviously about me working directly, and you know that a little bit about me, but to operate in life and pretend like everyone just wants to be awesomely happy and fun and games and we're all going to be friends, and then to not expect that disappointment isn't going to follow that is absolutely one of the craziest things to me. Because at the end of the day, the way I befriend, and I mean like friend, not this bullshit way that people throw the terms friend and fam around. Like, I fucking can't stand that. Because at the end of the day, if I'm going to call you family, I better confidently know that you're going to be there for me if I'm on my deathbed, if I got in a car accident, if I got to call you at 2 a.m, if I'm in deep shit and you have the ability and the capability to help me, you better be that one of those people. And the reality is, for me to pretend like all these people want to be friends when I know they're not going to do these things that I just mentioned, why am I going to pour any more energy other than just being, polite, courteous, respectful, and that's where it stops.
So when you decide somebody's not good for you, how do you decide to cut them off? Do you just not talk to them? Like, what's your test?
Well, when you say cut them off, the thing is, it doesn't go past a certain point for there to be a cutoff.
So it happens at this point, and then where does it go there?
Doesn't go anywhere.
Okay.
It just kind of
energy.
Yeah, like for example, let's say someone introduces you and I for potential business partnership, and we meet here. We sit at the table. We talk about, what kind of operation we're looking at, what type of investment we might be looking at. And I ask some questions. You ask some questions. What type of questions you ask. I'm also going to ask. I also ask people, like, what are your values? What are your principles? Because I want to know. I want to hear it from people. And usually the way somebody explains that, I know if they're full of shit or not also. And so right after I walk away from that meeting, I've already made the decision if I'm going to continue on with this person or not. And then when it say, hey, Daniel, I'll get back to you within a week. Let me think about it. I'll still get back to you, but I'll say, I don't think it's going to be a good fit. And that's it. I won't write it where it creates this awkward discomfort afterwards. That's just pointless, wasted energy and wasted thinking. And, my brain capacity, I only leave it available for the things that matter. So I'm not trying to carry things that don't matter just because I want to be polite or nice about it. Like I said, my life is very, very, very realistic, and I'm not trying to waste time with anything that's irrelevant to the present or the future. And more so the future. Today doesn't matter. If you don't fit my future, you're not going to exist in it.
I like that.
It's extreme, but it's the truth.
But what happens when you have friends? You let people in, and then you realize...
You mean if I slip and I miss that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That at this point in my life, it doesn't happen. It hasn't happened in like 5-6 years. So I've been in Vegas for 6 years now. There's only been 5 people in 6 years that I've met that I've allowed into my circle. That's it. And if you're not in my circle, you're not coming much closer. Unless, like, obviously naturally, like through some, like, you meet people along the way, whether it's through business or clientele, and you realize, like, oh, these are good people, whatever, and you kind of establish relationships and whatnot. But as far as, like, my actual circle goes, like I said, there's only been 5 people that I've met since I moved to Vegas that I've made it in, that I will, at any given day, go to war for them, take a bullet for them, and I know they would do the same thing. It's reciprocal.
Okay, I guess I need to rephrase it. Speaking to your younger self, i.e. Daniel, what advice would you give him if he's not reached the point that you have with, like, how clear and defined you are and how to choose friendships and allow people in?
So once the friendship is already developed, and then after time you realize, like, no,
this is not something that I see in my future. I recognize that.
So would this be in business or would this be on a friendship level?
Unfortunately, the friendship level, because the business level is easy. It's it's business.
You're fired.
Yeah.
It's very cut and dry with me.
On a friendship level, I mean, it's pretty simple. You just stop doing stuff with them. And here's the thing.
Are they owed an explanation, I guess is my question.
Yes and no, but here's the thing. You be truthful about it. You just occupy your time with shit that matters. And then when you can't hang out with them and they wonder, like, hey, man, I haven't seen you in 2 weeks. What's going on? Like, sorry, bro, I'm just busier. And I said, what do you mean you're busier? Like, well, I got the office. I'm managing my team. I'm busy with mom. And we're taking on some more projects. And you're being truthful. So there's
But
no
that-
lie or bullshit.
And that's
in
what
either.
it is. Like, when my plate's it's full, just like you talk about, the mental capacity to actually allow additional things into the plate that's already there. It's like, this is so valuable to me. To anything that takes away from this.
Yeah, and the only explanation is, sorry, bro, I'm tied up with too many projects. I don't have time to hang out.
And I think it's a reality of a lot of entrepreneurs that
It's simple.
you don't have time to hang out. You don't really hang out.
Listen, my girlfriend and I barely even get to do much. We have we have one mini date night that's maybe a couple hours. And we have like one date night that's maybe 3-4 hours. And then we spend a little bit of time on a Saturday. We spend a little bit of time on a Sunday. And then we obviously try to work out with each other together. But that's it.
You say that's it, but the time you're with each other, you're probably extremely intentional.
I'm super present.
Extremely present, and you're there.
But again,
And most people
the time her and I, if I include working out together, we maybe spend 10 to 12 hours a week with each other. Maybe.
How long have you guys been together?
A year. But here's the difference. When we met, I set the boundaries. I set the ground rules, and not rules where I'm trying to be like some controlling dickhead. It's like, hey, look, this is my life. This is how much my life demands of me and my time, my attention, and my mental capacity. And this is all I have room for. My life is actually not conducive for a relationship. So you can choose if you want to be a part of it or not, but I need you to understand I'm not adjusting and I will not compromise anything to go for the relationship if it means making any kind of sacrifice from my business to go to the relationship. Because right now I'm in the pinnacle of my life and of my career. And there is no single person on this planet that I will compromise my dreams for at all. Even if that means my dreams I have to push them back by a year. Not going to happen. You're either going to ride or die with me or you're not going to be a part of it at all. And here's the thing. For the most part, most women in general will appreciate that if a man says that. She appreciates that. Now, is it difficult sometimes for her? Yeah, absolutely. Does it bother her sometimes? Yeah, absolutely. Like I went to Dallas this weekend because we're getting ready to open up an office, and it bothered her that she couldn't go. She's like, why can't I go? And I was like, I can't have distractions. I got to go work. I'm on like my A game right now. I'm on a mission, and I have very minimal time to get what I need to get done and then fly back. And I can't be thinking about you being at the hotel. I can't be thinking about us having dinner time or having any kind of romance time or emotions together. I need zero emotion while I go do this operation right now. And that's how I operate every single day. Right. And through the course of life and business, you might meet someone that's actually moving at the same pace as you. And then it might make sense. But to get introduced doesn't make sense.
Not even.
Especially where you guys are at right now too. You guys are also in the pinnacle of your careers together, and there's no room for distractions or interruptions or something that could break your guys' energy. There's no space for that. And unfortunately, most people, and this is one of the most fascinating things to me, is most people don't pay attention to that. They don't have a cutoff for that. And they're okay with being, and again, if you're okay with being content, more power to you. But then don't complain and bitch that you can't afford this, or that you can't afford that, or that you don't have enough money, or that you're not saving enough, or you're not don't bitch about it. Because you're willing to go hang out on the weekend, or you're willing to have a little extra girlfriend, boyfriend time, then don't ever bitch about money. Don't ever bitch about why you're not making $1 million a year, or why you're not doing it sooner. Some people are like, if I could just make $10,000 a month, I'm good. And I'm like, are you really good? And they're like, yeah, I'm good. 6 months later, man, I wish I could go to Aspen like you did or buy a car like you did. Well, no, you don't, because you told me you're fucking good. You told me you're good with making $10,000 a month. So you don't tell me you wish for these things when on the flip side, you're saying I'm good with making this much money. So which one is it? And it's like, boom, wake up call. I know it's far away, but one of your dreams is to own a jet.
Absolutely.
I 100% believe you're going to accomplish that. I have no doubt in my mind. How much time it is, I don't know, because I don't know where you guys are at financially wise. But do I believe that there's going to be a DC jet? Fucking 1,000%. I have zero doubt. And I'm cheering you on for that too at the same time.
I appreciate that.
You know, because it's something you've talked about. It's something you post about. It's just something that you want for your business, your family, your life. And I truly believe you're going to accomplish that. But again, because you're putting the work, you're putting the footwork towards it also.
Every day.
You know?
Every day. That's what I start with that in mind. I'm like, to get there, the person I have to be is so different than the person I am today to achieve that.
And what you're doing today is not going to get you to where you need to be either.
And I realize that. So it's a constant evolution to chase that person. And that's my invisible person that myself. That's my inward self that I can see how to get there. I know how to get there. I know the work that has to happen, and just go out there and do it every day.
You have to be willing to expose and face your weaknesses. Everyone always thinks you got to focus on your strengths. Fuck your strengths. Your strengths are going to keep improving by default because you're already operating on your strengths as it is. So, the whole term of personal growth and development is starting to get tossed around so loosely that the idea and speaking about personal growth sounds cool. So every motherfucker is now fucking just talking about it and tossing it around. Growth this, growth that, development. But what are you really doing to actually work on yourself? What are you reading to actually work on yourself? What are you doing for your actual self-improvement? And here's the thing too, here's the flip side. Are the things you're working on to improve yourself the things you're already good at? Because then you're not really working on personal development. That's not growth. Because all these things, so you're basically reading on things that are validating what you're already doing. Where's the growth in that? So how are you strengthening? How are you shrinking that margin on your weaknesses? You're not. You're ignoring your weaknesses. That doesn't help you grow and evolve.
I'm a little mind blown.
It's interesting when I see this because I'm seeing it a lot right now, even with personal friends of mine. And I'm like, check yourself. Stop reading shit that's telling you what you're already doing is accurate so that you can intensify it. You're going to get intense as you go anyways. If you're an A-type personality, you don't need to go read something that tells you to go execute harder. You maybe spend 10 to 20% more on how to sharpen that a little bit. The other 80%, put it in your weaknesses, your leadership skills, how to win friends and influence people. I mean, that's a book. But that statement is actually real life as a true statement because I've asked people straight up, well, what are you doing to increase your circle, the value of your circle, and influence people to go do bigger and better things? And they don't have the skill set for it. So then it's like, well, why are you trying to improve your sales skills if your team building and leadership skills suck? Go put all that energy in that. You're going to figure this part out as you go anyways. I'm a hardcore A-type personality. I don't need to go listen to too much of Tim Grover, for example, when I'm already an executioner.
You need to come do some yoga with me.
Oh shit, there it is.
That's what.
And that leads into what she does. You know, that's what she does for people. She does this unconventional thing. She brings them in a room and does things that's really hard for them. That's completely out of the norm for people that've never done yoga. Most of the time,
I used to do Bikram yoga actually.
Business owners and people like that don't typically
Yeah, but that's a personality yoga. I need to put you in a room and have you hold 3 to 5 minute poses in yin.
The Bikram yoga I took had that. It was the hardest shit I've ever done. But
it's in the heat and it's hard and all of that. I'm talking about quiet, slow, lay on the floor and not move for 5 minutes.
Okay, I'm sure it'll kick my ass.
Yeah.
I have no doubt it will.
Standing still for me is like really hard.
He fidgets the whole time. Like when I get stillness out of him in the end, it's amazing.
Oh yeah, when I do yoga, I can tap out of my go mentality and just sit still. That's why I do my super early morning walks. That's why I go hiking with my dog, because I get to the top of a mountain and I just sit there in silence. No music. I have the music on when I'm getting there, but then once I'm at the top, no music, just me and my pup and looking at the sky and everything around me, just total silence. And there's almost no service, so I can't be interrupted.
Beautiful.
And I just get to meditate up there for 30 minutes to an hour before I decide to come back down.
When did you start meditating?
I've been meditating for a long time.
It's a developed thing.
Yeah. Again, it all, again.
I feel like you refine that because like watching you walk out, I'm like, that's fucking meditation. Like people don't understand.
But
like,
again, it's me being, me having 100% congruency with who I used to be. How do I keep getting better? Well, I need to take all my flaws and things that I still suck at and expose myself to them. I don't need to expose them to you. If I can be honest and truthful to myself, I got to be willing to surface and expose my own bullshit and my weaknesses to myself so that I can actually put work into them, not run away from them. I'm not going to be able to lead people if I don't.
When did your leadership skills get refined?
The first time I went and watched John Maxwell speak, I was like, I'm all in on this, 100%. And I went, and those who don't know him, he is the guru of leadership, you know, and he also used to be a pastor too, which was just a big bonus in it too, because I was like, here's a man that's teaching people on leadership, on how to help develop others. And he brings God into the picture and from a very humble state of mind. And I was all about it. So I just started picking up his books and reading them so I can fine tune my leadership. Because I knew once upon a time that was a very, very poor skill set of mine, because I was just like, go, go, go. If you're not on the train with me, fuck off. I'm just going without you. Now for me, it's like, how can I influence and inspire you to want to get on this train with me? And through getting on this train and running with me to my dreams, your dreams are going to get accomplished through them also. That's real leadership. Real leadership is making you bigger, better, stronger than me, faster than I did it. That's leadership. People think leadership is, let me motivate you to go do something, and then they think they're leaders.
Oh, I'm definitely not.
That's my weakness. That's both of our. We've learned that.
Oh,
Running a company, we were successful in one line of field.
Fuck this shit. I don't want to do this shit anymore. This is too fucking hard.
Yeah,
and we've learned hard lessons, and it's like a learning. It's personal growth. It's personal growth. Go and dive into those things we're bad at.
Leadership is passing the baton, and it doesn't have to be in the same industry, but it's passing the baton on how to show somebody to do everything better than you did and faster. Give them the cheat codes to life. That's real leadership. Excuse me. And it's weird for me when I see people who call themselves leaders, but they're just all about, can I motivate this person to go from point A to point B? When it's like, no, man, you're supposed to transfer your fucking knowledge into this person so they can do what you did in 12 months. Again, we'll use your former coach because you guys know who she is. I showed her how to go from $30,000 a year to well over six-figure income in her first official year. That took me 5 years to figure that out. I shortened that.
She's good. You did good.
And that's what you're supposed to do. As you guys bring people in, your job is to help somebody become better than you guys in the real estate business. Treat them so well, teach them so well that they have the ability to leave, but they never want to because of how you treat them.
I definitely can take some tips on leadership from you.
But do you feel like?
Because I definitely have that. Get on the fucking trainer and get the fuck out of my way.
I used to be like that.
It's so hard because I'm so personally. I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. I love to teach people. Like, don't get me wrong. That piece, I love.
Sure, you like the educating part.
But then I get frustrated
when they don't do
it like me.
Patience.
Yeah, that's something I can learn.
That was the other thing too. Again, my 100%, I owe all the credit to my past. I'm very grateful my father kicked my ass. I'm very grateful my mom and my sister mistreated me. I'm very grateful and saddened at the same time that, my siblings went through what they did, and my brother passed away, God rest his soul, and that I went through drugs and wanted to kill myself. I'm grateful for all of it. Because that taught me so many different things. And I still, to this day, this will be my 17th year of being sober. And thank you.
Congrats.
And still to this day, I go tap into that old world, that old Sean, because there are still answers that I don't have. There are still things from the old Sean that I know I can learn from. While at the same time, I have a mentor and a coach that I look to for advice.
How often do you see your coach?
We talk every single day. Every day.
Same coach? More than one?
Just one now. I've been working with him directly for 5 years now, and it'll never change at this point. When it comes to business and life and experience and just how to become a better man and a gentleman, I have no reason to change or adjust anything at this point. And here's the thing too, like once you find the right mentor and coach, you get so close with them that eventually it goes from being mentor-student to business partners. And now we're both coach each other. Now we both educate each other. So like now we're both at even playing fields. There's still a lot of knowledge and skills that he has that I don't have. He's 68 years old. But now we're riding the waves together. We're in business together. We're doing certain projects together. And there's a lot of things that I end up teaching him and educating him on outside of what my expertise, outside of fitness, obviously, but just in the world of business and leadership. But because he's helped me elevate to a certain point, and now
You see things.
Now we bounce ideas off each other.
If you were going to give me a recommendation of how to find somebody like that, what would you say?
It's one of two ways. You either go hire a coach that you know is already doing big shit, or you'll run into somebody through your path and journey of business and life. And as soon as you start to realize this person, male or female, has certain qualities about them, character traits about them, business skills about them that I want to emulate and learn from, you start to latch onto that and try to be as close with them as possible, spend as much time with them as possible, take them to lunch, offer them stuff, offer something that benefits them, not just buying lunch and that's it, but like, what can you bring to the table for this person? Hey, you want to buy our video? You want to borrow our video guy for a day? I'll come help you out. Simple things. And then eventually after, 3, 4, 5 months of developing that relationship, you just tell the person, like, you know what? I love and appreciate you so much that I would really like to develop a mentor-student relationship with you. What's it going to cost me? Like having the guy that I have now in my corner and what we do together now has expedited my life 10 years into the future. And I'm there right now. And so
I've done that from time to time for people, but I want somebody for me. And I haven't found it. I worked with a coach before, but her business wasn't where I wanted it to be or anything like that. So like it's hard to take, business advice from somebody that hasn't obtained the success that you have.
Well, no, that's perfectly well said. Mm-hmm. But sometimes it's not necessarily going to be business related. It could just be character traits, values, personality, persona, skills, that you might be more successful than this person because you guys are a little bit more driven, but this person might still have more skills than you do, because not everybody wants to own a jet. But there are people
He wants one for me, but that's
right.
not a desire of mine.
Right. And obviously you would think, oh, I need to get mentored by someone like Grant Cardone. Not really.
Heck no.
I'm just giving example. It could be someone that's way far more experienced than you are, that doesn't care for that kind of riches and wealth, but can still teach you the skill set you need to get to wherever you want to be. Do you guys know who started the wave of record setting in real estate?
I don't.
Tom Hopkins. Sold 365 homes in a year. One house a day. I've been to his sales seminars, I want to say 3 or 4 times, maybe 5. It's been a while. The guy's got sales skills that blow your fucking mind away, you hear him and you're like, how did I not think about this? It seems so simple. But this guy has taught a lot of people that we follow together, that we all follow, their set of skills. Ed Milet learned from him when it came to sales. You know, this guy was like how John Maxwell is the guru of leadership. Tom Hopkins is the guru of sales. The wealth part he just didn't care about at a point. I forgot exactly what his story was, but then he broke off, did his own thing, and you know, killed it in the business. And then he started with teaching other realtors on how to do what he did.
I don't necessarily want a real estate coach, so
No, I'm not saying that. Yeah. I'm just saying, but again, he's a sales coach,
right?
So because he's taught and mentored financial companies, auto dealership companies. He's coached people because certain sales is across the board. Certain sales skills. I agree. So that's what people have hired him for, and he's done great.
Yeah, I got licensed to do loans now too.
So it's really about you got to look at their skill sets versus their actual success, comparison wise.
Skill sets for sure,
and character traits.
Let's talk about rituals. You're the king of them.
Okay.
I want to hear about it and what you suggest.
What's your question?
Like, talk about your rituals.
Well, let's start with a question. What would somebody who has no idea what the fuck rituals are, and where do they even get started with implementing?
We had somebody on the podcast that didn't know.
Somebody that, you know, they're successful people that, you know, that don't necessarily know what that is or have that. Or
the first thing I'm going to slap you with is non-negotiables. Non-negotiables is rituals. It's the same thing. Most people are like, well, what the hell is a non-negotiable? It's shit that you're going to do that you will absolutely not compromise no matter what the hell is going on in life. Somebody dies, something happens, there's a freak accident, it absolutely gets done. Unless you physically cannot. But you have a set of 5 to 7 non-negotiables that absolutely have to be done every single day. There is no compromise for them whatsoever. Whether you're on vacation, whether you're too busy, whether your day doesn't end till midnight, there are certain things you have a core 5 to 7 things that have to get done no matter what, and those become your rituals because that paves the way of how disciplined you stay, how convicted you are to your mission, because these non-negotiables are the opening doors to how much more successful you become, because how you execute these non-negotiables are going to transfer into whatever matters to you in life. So me waking up at 2 a.m. and going to bed at 10, and the things that I do from 2 a.m. till 7 a.m. before I get interrupted and bombarded with a whole bunch of shit, like these things, as long as my day starts off with a stack of wins and I'm taking care of Sean first and foremost, there really is almost nothing that can get in the way and interrupt my mindset or my energy, no matter how shitty the news is.
How do you deal with shitty news?
Depends on what it is. But for the most part, I don't. When it comes my way, it's like I'm super solution oriented. So if you come to me with a problem, I'm gonna ask right away, like, well, what'd you do about it? Or what are you gonna do about it? And if you don't have an answer, then my next question is, well, I can't help you. I'm not going to give you your solution if you can't even come to me with ideas. So go away and come back when you figure that out. That's one example.
How's that work in your leadership?
It works great because that's the truth. Because look, if I was coaching you, if I was mentoring you, and you came to me with a problem, my job is to make you independent from me, not dependent. So if I give you a solution because you're stuck somewhere without coming to me, without, Sean, this is my problem, here's 3 different options, I don't know which one to turn to, then, okay, we can work with something. Then I'm going to break it down, each of these options that you think could be solutions. But if you come to me with a problem and 0 solutions, I'm going to be like, Daniel, fuck off. Come back to me tonight or tomorrow or in a couple of days and figure out what some optional solutions are. And then we'll take it from there.
See, I like that. Like, I tell them when I hire anybody, Daniel and I did personality testing early on.
I remember that.
And it really helped us work together. So, like, I go through my personality test with whomever I'm hiring so they know that what way I like to be communicated with. so we can communicate effectively. So I'm like, don't come to me with a problem without some kind of solution.
Right.
Or like a
Or
very,
at least some critical thinking before you bring in the problem.
really well. So like, but the way you put it makes sense. Like, then get the hell out of here, like, because that's probably my biggest frustration in leading is like, they come to me and want me to give them an answer.
Well, don't get me wrong. That's not the grammar or the verbiage that I'll use. That I'm just paraphrasing, a simple, fast way. Unless that's the type of personality I might be coaching, then I'll be aggressive like that. But if the personality is like that, I'm going to be like, well, Daniel, have you thought of any solutions? No, I don't know where to start. Well, then how do you expect me to help you out? Well, can't you just tell me that? No. Do you want to be dependent of me every single time you have a problem? No. Don't you want to be independent someday? Yes. Then don't you think it makes sense for you to come to me when you have a few different options and you're stuck with not knowing which option makes the most sense? Then I can help you mathematically and intellectually figure out what the right answer is. And then we rendezvous in a couple days.
I like that. Giving time to think. Patience.
Remember, again, the purpose of leadership is to help somebody become independent and do what you've done better, faster, stronger, and bigger. If you're giving people answers, that doesn't do anything. That just makes you a motivator. I hate the line of, I'm teaching people how to be their best version of themselves. That's great and all, but how? Are you making these people use their critical thinking skills? Are you making them figure out the solutions, or are you just giving them the answers? That doesn't do anything. As I said, the world of growth and personal development is not just being thrown around because it sounds fucking cool. Some people say, you got to work on yourself. You got to, again, you start listening to podcasts, and here's, you start listening to podcasts, you start reading certain things, and then you start spitting out the shit you heard.
Regurgitating the shit you heard. It was on an Instagram post.
And it's not even yours. Or at least spin it where it's your own, where it's a real life different perspective. Not just you said something and then I literally spew it and just change the words a little bit, but it's literally the exact same thing, but not from actual Daniel's perspective. And a lot of people are doing that too. And then they think they're smart. And here's what's even funnier about it. Because I follow all these big wigs and these high profile people and I listen to most of their shit. Fuck, I've been coached by Ed Milet. I've been on a conference call with just 5 people, me, 4 people, and Ed, multiple times, many years ago. So, as I hear these people, and when I start to hear people get on Instagram and talk about stuff or say certain things, I'm like, well, I just heard that yesterday. I just saw that posted last week. You're not fucking saying anything that these guys aren't saying. You're just regurgitating, as you said, what you just heard. You're not even sharing your own real perspective. You're not even taking what you heard, used it into a real life experience, and then come back and give it to the world. You're just mimicking the other person. And that doesn't work. It might work to somebody who doesn't know any better and doesn't know anything. But guess what?
For the right person.
You want to sit at the high table and you spit shit like that, you're not even going to be allowed in the room. I just heard what you just said. Or they heard it on a podcast and then they'll put it, and then they'll make a post and literally like mimic it, and they won't even quote it. It's a very interesting world right now.
Authenticity.
Let's talk about your social media break.
What about it?
How did it go? Talk about it. Like, how did that help you? And why do you think that was a good idea and good for other people? Because I totally probably could use one.
Wait, my social media what?
Didn't you take a social media break recently? Where you were like,
oh, I'm not talking into my story anymore like I used to, because I was doing that during my personal time. And so I did it when I was in Aspen because I've always talked about Aspen so much that I wanted to share a little bit with the world of like, this is Aspen. This is what the home of the billionaires is like. This is what it's like to have a seat at the high table. This is real lifestyle compared to what people think lifestyle is. And again, whatever they're content with is fine, more power to them. But for those who think they know what lifestyle is, until you've actually been there, You have no idea. But after when I got back and I did a couple more talks, I realized, wait a minute, I want to save my energy and I really want to be in my own meditative trance where it's dark. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to get on social media. I just want to walk the cold, dark, early morning to really dissect Sean and reflect. And sometimes maybe even dig deep and to bring the old Sean to the surface, to pick the old Sean's brain.
Do you wake up to an alarm?
Half the time. Half the time I beat it. I don't like beating it, to be honest with you. Because if I'm already getting up around 2:15, I don't like beating it when it's like 1:45 and I'm like, oh my God.
That's 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Do you ever take naps?
No. I don't believe in naps.
How do you survive off that little sleep day in and day out?
So my mental capacity is so tapped out from start to end that my 4 hours of sleep, sometimes 4.5, is so deep that I'm fully rested when I wake up. I'm not, number one, I removed the term tired from my vocabulary. I don't say I'm tired anymore. Never. And I even catch my girlfriend around and she says, I'm like, it's a bad word. Because the moment you tell yourself you're tired at 2:00 in the afternoon, guess what? You start to go downhill. Your energy starts to slow down. Your operation and critical thinking starts to slow down. Every move you make is now moving at a slower pace because you have now subconsciously told yourself, I'm tired. It's time to slow down. Because what does tired mean? You go to sleep. Doesn't exist. I might say my body's tired because of a workout that I did, but where I'm actually tired, no.
How long have you been doing?
Year and a half? Year and a half?
How much?
The tired part, right? The vocabulary?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, but how long have you been getting up at 2:00 in the morning?
3 years.
What time did you get up before that?
Before I had like everybody else schedule. Go to bed, 12, 1 o'clock, wake up at 7, 8 o'clock. And then I saw a friend that was waking up every day at 3 in the morning, in the gym by 4. And I watched his life accelerate very fast. Like 10 shots of nitrous, and in like 2 years went from making $3,000 a month to $200,000 a month. And I'm like, no way is this from the operation of getting up that early. But I started to pay very close attention. I studied, and I'm like, oh shit, it is, because his day is starting out with personal self-care, and he doesn't have to cater to anybody because most people are asleep. And anybody who is awake doesn't want to be bothered either anyways. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to start doing that. So I started to wake up at 3:30 in the gym by 4. And then that's when I started 4 a.m. club. And then I'm like, okay, my friend's kicking ass. How do I beat him? Well, I'm never going to catch him if I just keep getting up at the same time. And it's friendly competition. He doesn't know this either. It's not like I wish that he slows down or sucks one day and just kind of falls off. It's more like quietly I'm using what he does as my own personal accountability. So now I'm asking myself, how do I beat him? How do I catch up to him? Well, if I keep doing what he's doing at the same time, I'm never going to catch up to him because he's not going to slow down. So the only way to catch up to him and then beat him, surpass him, is by getting up earlier. So I give myself a little bit more time to do my stuff and work and client stuff. So I was like, I'm going to get up at 2.
How much growth have you seen since you've done that?
Oh, who Sean was a year ago is not the same person today, and who I was 2-3 years ago is not the same. Today's version of me will murder 4 years ago, 3 years ago, by a long shot. Wouldn't
Just
be able
over
to keep
getting
up
in the morning like that.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, there's intentions behind it too. It's not just because there's a lot of people that say that you get up early, do this, do that. It's like, well, no, but I have very specific, detailed intentions on why I wake up when I do and what I focus on from 2 a.m. till I'm in demand. And there's a lot of like deep work that I do. And like I said, I want to bring my flaws to life. And then certain business things that I'm working on, I can dive into that without having to worry about calls, interruptions, things that I need to maybe go look up and study. You know, so I'm constantly working on me and my skills that need improving during those quiet times. And so by getting up as early as I do and working on myself and having very specific, extreme intentions, my life is fast forwarding on a weekly basis. So if you do the math on it, if 7 days a week, I'm sleeping 4 hours, and you multiply 20 hours a week. I went through this with you one day. You multiply 20 hours a day by 7 days a week, by 30 days in a month, by 12 months, you're 3 years in the future. Right. Now, I don't recommend anybody do 4 hours of sleep. I'm an addict. So I have the ability and the capability to do that. Like I said, I took all my fucked up stuff and I took all that energy and that addictive personality and I put it into things that serve me. So if you do, say, 6 hours, if you need more than 6 hours, then...
I need 5 hours. I'm good on 5.
Right. So if you take that, and if you actually take 18 hours a day, and every minute is at full capacity, there's no wasted time, and you multiply that by 7 times 30 times a year, you're 2 years in the future. Your 12 months just did 24 months of work. So imagine a decade worth of work being done in 5 years. It's amazing. Every single thing that people talk about, you can accomplish anything in 10 years, you can have the world. Well, there's no reason why you can't have it in 5.
No, I agree with that because the growth that I've had just since I left corporate America has been exponential.
Year, 6 months, past 90 days, past 2 weeks, past week. It evolves like so fucking fast. We call it time hopping. I'm like, dude, I feel like we're time hopping because we're in such a different place. Where we were a month ago feels weird.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, I can't even believe we were there a month ago. Like,
you have to go at a certain pace, but that pace has to be correct. Also, some people try to move at a speed that they actually can't keep up with, and then they get sloppy, and then they start making these inaccurate moves that actually ends up reversing time. That's why I said, like, it's everything has to be planned out. And it has to be super high level intentions.
Do you put it all on your phone? Do you put it in a calendar? Where do you plan it? In a book?
Phone, write it down sometimes. Mostly in the phone because I'm always on the go. So I just, like, my phone has over 400 notes on it right now. And I always try to transfer that over to my computer. But, you know, if I'm home at my desk, I'll write it. But most of the time, because I'm barely ever home, I throw it on my phone.
How many books a year do you read?
So I was averaging somewhere between 12 to 18 before. This year, my intention is 3 a month, which I'm a little behind because I'm trying to make moves going into another state right now, so it's occupying my time, no excuses. So this month, my intention is to have 6 books completed since the first of the year so that I can get back on that pace. But my goal is 3 books a month, minimum.
What kind of books do you read?
I read books that improve my flaws. Is the best answer I can give you.
That was interesting. I never even thought about that. Read books that improve your flaws. Because everybody tries to, you know.
If you're great at sales, why do you need to read a sales book? And the areas that you suck at in sales, you can find those answers very easy. Why are you going to waste your time reading something that only needs a couple small tweaks? You know? But then there's books that have to do with character. So As a Man Thinketh, that's a great book. That will forever be a book I'll open because there are certain things in there that I'll just pick apart that applies to my character or will apply to my character forever. And based on who I am next month or in a year from now, the very same phrase, I might have a different perspective when I read it. It might apply to me differently. So there's certain books like that you'll always keep by your side. But then for the most part, you want to go pick out books that improve where you're lacking. Again, that's real personal development. Is knowing where you suck and where to find those answers, and having the humility to admit to yourself, these are areas that I really need to put work on, and I have to be willing to face my flaws to become better.
Do you speak to any of your family members?
Zero. Speak to my mom maybe twice a year. Most people probably be like, you're an asshole. Maybe.
I'm the same.
But I can't. Dad, twice a year. Everybody else, non-existent. They are, to me, they're deceased. Because, like I said, when I was really going through tough times, they weren't there. And when my brother passed away, they weren't there. And when my brother passed away, somehow they think that certain people were there for me when they never were. And I was like, I'm just cutting all these people out.
I'm the same. I talk to my dad a little bit more than my mom, but my mom, if once a year. I haven't talked to my siblings since 2000 and 2001, except for my brother, my half older brother. And
Why is that?
Because their life choices, drug addicts. And I refuse to allow that into my life. I don't care if it is.
And they're still using?
Let's see here. She's 63, I think.
Oh.
She's, as far as I know, from what I know. So I'll give you a little history. She started with like a toe amputation, and then it was a knee, and she's had brain surgery.
Heroin?
Meth.
Shooting it?
Smoking it. She'd drink mudslides and pop Loratab and smoke speed in a secular. And she was like a half
Sweet.
older sister that I looked up to. I didn't grow up with her in the household because she was so much older. But I tried to help her years ago, and she just didn't want to help herself, and so I chose to cut her out.
See, at some point, you just have to not want that life for yourself anymore. Because like when I was using heavily, I was doing cocaine, LSD, and marijuana all at the same time, literally all in the same bundle. That was my go-to cocktail, 7 days a week, 24/7. I didn't even know what being sober was, because that was always on. And then if I decided to throw something else into the mix, I did. And then, after wanting to take my life, I'm like, I'm so tired of this fucking life. I'm tired of being miserable, and miserable from hating myself. That was enough for me. And here's the thing too. When people come to me for recovery coaching, I always tell them my story. I never hold anything from them, because sometimes maybe the extreme is what's needed, but I don't advise them to do this either, because it's way overboard and it might trigger the wrong person to do something they shouldn't do. But for me, I made a deal with the devil. So I left this out in the beginning. The day I decided to get sober and stop doing drugs, I took an oath to myself and swore that, because most addicts or alcoholics, for the most part, relapse at least once or twice, whether they've gotten sober or not. The ones that got sober, most have at least had a couple relapses throughout their journey of sobriety. And I knew that, and I was well aware of that. And I wasn't willing to have that happen, because my addiction was just so extreme. I was not willing to have a relapse, because I could only imagine how much more difficult it would be to get off. And that's the fact too. You relapse, it becomes that much harder to come off again. It's easier to go. Every time you relapse, it becomes easier to go back to your old habits. So I told myself that if I'm going to give myself a chance, then I also need to guarantee myself that I'm never going to relapse. How do I guarantee that? If I relapse, the Glock goes in my mouth and I pull the trigger, done. And here's the thing. I knew I wasn't bullshitting myself when I made that promise to myself. I knew that I was going to follow through. If I relapsed, I'm taking my life. And so every time I had these urges in the first 12 to 24 months, I think to myself, you swore you're going to pull the trigger if you relapse. And that was enough for me to not relapse. I went through the withdrawals. I went through the, and shit. My withdrawals were hallucinating withdrawals because there was so much LSD in my system that, like, when I'd withdraw, I'd start seeing shit. My first year working out, I was hallucinating while doing cardio because all the shit that I had in my system, I would literally have to stop because there's colors and shit floating in air from just speeding up my adrenaline. And so, I remember a couple of times, like, it was so bad that I'd make a couple calls to some friends. I'm like, dude, I'm fucking hallucinating. Like, why? I was like, I have no idea. Like, I'd have to just sit and just, like, eyeballs falling out of my head. And they're like, well, at least you know you're not going to go fucking do it again. You got your high. You're getting your high right now.
You did LSD every day? Pretty
much. I was doing in some shape or form. So I was either dropping the liquids, popping tabs, or I was lacing my weed with it. So, like, my favorite thing was rolling a blunt, marijuana laced with acid, an 8-ball of cocaine on a 1/4 ounce of weed with, probably about 10 drops of acid mixed into that, and then smoking it.
How you're alive is beyond.
Oh, I don't even know how. To be honest, I don't know how I have a brain. I don't know how I'm alive. I don't know how I'm not in a black hole in the hospital living off of machines. Like, I have no idea.
Do you have any residual effects from it? Nothing.
The human body is fucking resilient.
A greater purpose.
Right.
Honestly. As cliche as that might sound. Because, like I said, like, even with my attempts, I should have died. There's no way I should have lived. Because one of my attempts, I just tossed like 30 pills in my mouth and swallowed it. And because my tolerance was so high.
Oh shit! I didn't even think about that.
Well, that was the thing, and I was
just way fucked up then.
I was just more fucked up.
Oh my god!
I was like, how am I alive? How am I not in the hospital? And I'm like, my fucking tolerance.
Right.
And
you're a big dude, but
I'm a larger person to top it off, So, and then, like I said, after that conversation that happened in my head, I was like, you know what? It's not my time.
No.
And I'm definitely meant to do something. If I survived doing the drugs, if I survived my attempted suicides, if I haven't been killed in a drug deal yet, if I haven't gotten into a car accident yet, while driving under the influence, then maybe I've been saved in more ways than one so that I can deliver a different message. And that's where, like, my intensity and, like, super extremity of operational life comes from. But then that's how I realized, like, I got a lot of flaws that I work on that have to do with making more quality friends and influencing people and building other people to become leaders. It's because that wasn't a great skill of mine. I sucked at it.
So what did you do for Thanksgiving and Christmas and stuff like that? Or do you celebrate any of that stuff? Like when you didn't have family? Did you just pick your friends?
No, to be honest with you. So my first 3 years of sobriety, I didn't do anything with anybody. I wanted to be alone. I chose to sit in darkness by myself and figure life out. So my first 2 years, in that first 3 years, I didn't touch a relationship. I wanted no involvement with another woman. I didn't want to do anything with family. I just wanted to be by myself, take care of me, and I'll kind of fall forward and learn as I go. And then, like I said, as things evolved, I made my standards harder to meet every single year, to the point where I realized, you know what? If I make them next to impossible, almost impossible, then anybody who passes that impossible gets to enter my circle.
I get it. I mean, I I love my parents, but I never feel good when I hang up the phone with my mom. So that's why I don't do it.
Yeah.
I avoid it. As much as I want it to be a positive conversation, it's just no matter how much I try and direct the conversation to keep it positive, it's not.
You can't. They're how old's your mom?
She is 77.
So yours is a little bit older than my mom, 73. Yeah, turned 73 this year. She'll turn 73 in March. Same thing. She can't help herself.
Yeah.
Like, always goes backwards.
Right?
Like, dude. And I end up, this year was the first time I had to tell her. Actually, the conversation I had with her 2 months ago or a month ago, I had to tell her, I'm just going to tell you this, and I'm sorry that I'm going to sound like an asshole. This is why you and I don't talk anymore. This is why I don't like calling you. This is why I don't like talking to you. This is why you and I will never be on the phone. This is why you and I will never hang out again. And she's like, don't say it. That's so hurtful. And I'm like, but you don't seem to understand. You keep wanting to go backwards in a time. All you want to talk about is negative shit. You never want to be solution oriented. You never want to listen to your son. I've made it this far in life, and I've done pretty damn well for myself now at this point. And I've, done pretty decent with my success. And you still want to listen to other motherfuckers and your shitty brothers over your son who's doing pretty damn good. I'm like, I don't want to talk to you. I'm like, your brothers have fucked you over in some shape or form, financially, loyalty-wise, but yet your son, somehow I'm still crazy and don't know any better. But yet I'm actually doing great, being over here with no family to ever communicate with me and telling me they're bullshit. But you don't want to talk to me. But you don't want to take my advice.
I get it.
I'm like, you and I won't talk. And that was the last conversation we had. Sometimes, and I'm not sure. We'll see if that was like maybe a new awakening for her. I'll know in a few months when I talk to her again.
Do you initiate the call?
Yeah, because she'll call sometimes and I just don't pick up. Like, her birthday's coming up, so I'll call her on her birthday.
When's our birthday?
March.
February.
Like, I didn't call either of my parents on Christmas. I didn't call them on New Year's. My dad's birthday is Christmas Eve. I didn't call him on Christmas Eve. I avoid the holidays to call them because out of sincerity, I'm not going to call somebody out of obligation either, my family members. Only because my mom's getting a little bit older. As her son, I want to be a decent son and call her on her birthday. But holidays, I don't call them. It'll be outside of that.
I share that same value.
Yeah, I don't want to say Happy New Year to my parents. As shitty as it sounds. I didn't have, again, like, some people might disagree and say you need to be a better person or bigger man. This has nothing to do with that. You don't know what kind of shit I've been through. You don't know what my parents have put me through. And when people try to say that I'm arrogant or I'm cocky, like, no, you have no idea what I've had to go through to get to where I'm at. That has helped me establish this level of supreme confidence because of what I've gone through now in the 36 years of my life. And I'm not here to explain myself either. So if you want to have this, here's the thing. Your perception of me is really a reflection of yourself, period. If you think I'm cocky, I'm arrogant, you probably got a problem, not me. If you think I'm not humble, you're probably the one that's not humble. Because I know what humility really is versus this fictitious bullshit of what people say humility is. Humility, same thing. It's almost the same. Humility is what falls in the category of personal growth, is knowing what you don't know and knowing where to turn for those answers. Humility is not pretending like you know something when you don't. Not because I'm aggressive, I'm a go-getter, I'm kicking ass in life. I want to talk about my wins with people. I want people to share their wins. And they say that's not being humble. Like, fuck out of here. I want to celebrate people's wins. When we did that $100 tip club, the shit I heard about that, oh, you guys could have done it in silence. Like, no. Why would we do something like that in silence? Why would we not broadcast the face this guy had when he started to cry when we handed a couple $1,000s to him? Why would we not broadcast 20 people coming together who don't fucking know each other, who one person orchestrated it, that said, if we come together as a community every so often, literally we can change someone's life for a couple months or for a year. Why would you not broadcast that? Why would you not want to inspire? That whole thing started because I was seeing bigger people in life, meaning status-wise, doing it. And they were posting about it on social media every month.
They were celebrating.
And I'm like, I'm going to do that.
It's lack mindset.
That's what it is. And that's kind of what I want to dive into is the mindset and people having lack mindset and, them getting in their own way. And I mean, we all do, but let's talk about that and how people have lack mindset and project their thoughts onto other people.
Insecurities. If I have something to say, because if I'm going to talk shit about 20 people having the ability to give away a couple $1,000s and change someone's life for a month or for a year. And this guy said, he told us that he was able to help his parents out with their groceries, and some other things that he had mentioned. And, and we all saw his face. Like, he was like, you're bullshitting. And I was like, no, dude, here, and for me to number one, have the mentality and the energy to want to talk shit about that shows how insecure I really am. Because now I'm wishing, the reality is you just don't want to do that. You start feeling sorry for yourself. So now you want to make someone else feel like shit because they actually broadcasted it. One of my goals, I've only said this to 2 people. One of my goals at the end of this year is to write a $100,000 check to a charity at the end of this year. And when I do, I'm fucking broadcasting it.
Have you decided what charity yet?
I'm debating between 3.
Okay. I love that. I'd love to see you do that this year.
And I'm going to show it off, because if that inspires someone to say, hey, I'm going to go donate $1,000, fucking great.
You change one, one.
This mindset of like people not sharing their wins is so puny to me. Like, that tells me like you and I will never be friends. You and I will never associate with each other. You and I will never have a business transaction together. You can never be trusted as a human being. You've shown every fucking shitty character trait that somebody could have that I never want anywhere in my world. Unless one day you were to come to me and say, I've been wrong, I've thought wrong, I want change, show me the ropes. Then there's open discussion, or a genuine apology of, I'm sorry for ever saying what I said. That might change the course a little bit.
Yeah.
You learned a lot.
I learned a lot about what I need to know and what I need to go out there and learn about, because I think I'm definitely been honing in on skills that I have very well. I definitely could look at.
That's my biggest message that I would actually just say in this episode for you guys' podcast is 20% of your effort in your personal development should go towards what you're already good at. Whether it's with your character traits or your values or certain skill sets. 80% should go into the things that you're flawed at. Now, that doesn't mean if you suck at media stuff, try to go learn how to edit this, that, and the other on the internet. That's not what we're talking about when it comes to growth. We're talking about character traits, skills, leadership, team building, actionable items that have to do with you, yourself as an individual. 80% of your time should go into the things that you're not good at, that have to do with building people and developing others. Great leaders build leaders.
I love it. Well, that was an amazing episode of the One Hustle Show. Let us know your thoughts on this podcast in the comments below. Please share this message with somebody who you think would benefit from this. If this resonated with you, please let us know, and looking forward to the next one. Thank you.